they're gonna give him an award, the Impact Award. The motherfucker that beat up more than anybody. This man will get an award for beating up women.
Suge Knight is back at it, talking smack about the dark side of the music biz. He's pointing fingers at folks who keep getting awards despite being, in his eyes, the real villains. Now he's dropping names even nastier than Diddy, calling out Dr. Dre and Chris Brown. It's getting real in the industry gossip game. Suge Knight is shining a light on what he sees as a double standard in how Chris Brown and Dr. Dre are treated compared to him. Despite all three facing accusations of domestic violence, and Knight being behind bars on unrelated charges, his recent podcast episode delves into the contrasting treatment of Brown and Dre in the aftermath of their A claims and convictions. You can have a man that's part of that secret society and they're gonna give him an award, the Impact Award, said the former music executive. That MF beat up more B than anybody. This man gets an award for beating up women. Chris Brown is stripped of his crown, and not saying it was right that him and Rihanna got into it and they had a fight, or he beat her up. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is this. He had a fight with one woman, or he beat up one woman, and they still casting stones at him, Knight continued. They don't give him his cigar. They don't let him come perform. They don't let him pretty much win awards. But you can have an Impact Award with Andre. He was referencing the Recording Academy's Global Impact Award, which was named after Dr. Jay-Z was this year's recipient of said award. During his acceptance speech, Jay-Z expressed gratitude to Dr. Dre, acknowledging the doors he opened and the impact he had on elevating rap to a global level. He specifically credited Dre for showcasing that rap artists could be rock stars and recognized his role in breaking records and putting West Coast rap on the map.
Thanks to Dr. Dre, said he in the house, he's somewhere. Up, there he is. Andre Young, thank you, sir. All the doors that you opened, showed us that we can be.
The comparison between Dr. Dre and Chris Brown also connects to Brown's recent claim about being uninvited from the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game. Brown asserted on Instagram that he was initially asked to play, but later got the news that he couldn't participate due to sponsors like Ruffles. Despite Ruffles denying involvement in the roster decision, Brown posted emails to support his claim and expressed frustration about feeling unappreciated. He accused Ruffles of trying to save face in their statement. He wrote, "I was asked by the NBA to play in the All-Star game this year, only for them to call later and say they couldn't do it because of their sponsors like Ruffles," wrote the wall-to-wall artist on Instagram. "At this point, I'm sick of people bothering me and I'm tired of living in the F past. I posted the emails so y'all could see. The NBA still was trying to get me to come and sit courtside. Not F happening. I only go where I'm appreciated." But what actually problem Suge has with both of them? Well, if we talk about Dr. Dre, the issue seems to be very old. It also has some links with the sudden death of Eazy-E, a pivotal figure in the revolutionary group NWA, played a crucial role in reshaping the landscape of hip-hop during the late 1980s and early 1990s. The group's hardcore image and unabashedly explicit lyrics marked a paradigm shift in the genre. NWA's verses boldly tackled various societal vices, laying everything bare and challenging the status quo. However, 9 years after the group's formation, the world faced the tragic loss of Eazy-E due to complications related to AIDS. The question of how someone so influential could easily exit the world highlights the unexpected and devastating nature of his untimely departure.
He's not feeling well. I said, oh, okay, where we going? You going to his house? It was odd. It was an odd day. So it's like, I didn't expect that it was possibly a weekday, that we're, I'm going over there, like he didn't come pick me up.
Rapper Eazy-E, had he lived, would likely have relished his stardom in today's music scene. Unfortunately, his life was tragically cut short in 1995 due to his battle with HIV. Despite his absence, the public has revisited the rapper's legacy through recent releases like Straight Outta Compton. However, the impact of the film extends beyond the audience to Eric Wright Jr., Eazy-E's son, who has had the unique experience of seeing his father brought back to life in a special way through the cinematic portrayal of his iconic journey.
Why does he ask me that? I don't know. I like everything he does, you know what I mean? But it touched me because you cared to ask me, so it stuck in me.
Wright shared his personal journey in an interview with The Recollectors, a storytelling site dedicated to narratives of families who have lost loved ones to AIDS. In the interview, he candidly discusses the experience of growing up with Eazy-E and the challenges of losing his father at a young age. Coping with the loss, one of the ways Wright found solace and purpose is by actively raising awareness about the disease that took his father's life. Through his advocacy, he strives to contribute to a broader understanding of HIV or AIDS and its impact impact on individuals and families. I started doing AIDS awareness work, Wright told the Recollectors. I went out and tested with individuals and campaigned for people to go get checked, talked about what it meant and how it affected me, how it's important to the community. When asked about Straight Outta Compton, which chronicled Eazy-E's rise to fame with the rap group NWA, Wright had good things to say. It brings him to life again, in a positive light, he said. He's being homaged and recognized for how iconic he was for the entire music industry. Well, this was the truth that was known to the world. However, Eazy's son knows another hidden truth, which is deeper than this. Young Eazy thinks Suge Knight K, his father. He shared an Instagram post of a now infamous interview Knight had on Jimmy Kimmel Live. In 2003, his first televised appearance after being released from prison for parole violations stemming from A and weapons convictions. This the new thing, right? So if somebody gonna do something to somebody, technology is so high, right? So you shoot somebody, you go to jail forever, Knight said. Kids, you don't want to go to jail forever, right? So they got this new thing out. People sell them all the time. They get this stuff they get blood from somebody with AIDS, and then they shoot you with it. That's the slow death. However, in the caption of the photo he posted of Knight, young Eazy wrote, "I've been known my pops was killed. His death never added up to what PPL have always said. Maybe they think we're idiots blind to the truth, IDK. But for you new fans, youngsters, and PPL who just don't know much, notice in Straight Outta Compton, Eazy did not get sick until after the studio incident with Suge. And look how he acknowledged and admits on this interview with Jimmy Kimmel injecting PPL instead of shooting them is a new thing that's done. The truth is out there, it's just blinded by the fact that Eric had a lot of S-free your mind. Ripe Eazy, Easy F, Suge Knight." As Wright Jr. states, the thinking was that Eazy-E's serial womanizing led to his death. In his 2006 book, Ruthless, a Memoir, Ruthless co-founder Jerry Heller wrote, "It would be hard to imagine a hound more rabid than Eric Wright. Even before Ruthless kicked into high gear, he had multiple girlfriends. I would sit with him in that little former porn video office adjacent to Lanark Park and marvel as I listened to him talk to his multiple lovers on the phone, one after another. Eric, I would say to him, sadly prescient, P is going to be your downfall. He was so smart in every other way. Women were his Achilles heel. I couldn't believe that a guy with so few other weaknesses indulged himself in such a huge one. But why would Knight have wanted to kill Eazy? In 1991, Knight and two of his goons confronted Eazy at Galaxy Studios at Sounds of Los Angeles Records, according to Heller's memoir. They brought baseball bats and they strong-armed Eazy into releasing Dr. Dre, the DOC, and Michelle from Ruthless so they could sign with Knight's Death Row label. That's the studio incident Wright Jr. is talking about.
A couple of Suge's family members got the wrath of how I felt at that time. His nephew, everybody else.
You knew them?
Yeah, went to school.
Oh, you were in high school with him?
Yeah.
In recent days, Heller has changed his tune, and there's been a renewed interest in the circumstances surrounding Eazy's diagnosis and death because of Straight Outta Compton. He began talking about Eazy's death while discussing his decision to talk the rapper, whom he called his best friend out of K Knight, a decision Heller said he now regrets.
You know, it was right next door to Eazy's and had a lot of memories there. I just thought I would move. And my brother and my nephew live out here, so...
Heller expressed the opinion that he should have allowed Suge Knight to harm Eazy-E. He mentioned that Suge Knight is among the most morally reprehensible individuals globally. When asked whether Eazy-E would have been convicted and sentenced for the M, he responded negatively. Heller argued that no one has been imprisoned for the murders of Tupac, Biggie, or Eazy-E. He questioned whether the FBI could not have solved these cases, stating that it would be an insult to his intelligence to believe that the FBI, the world's most effective law enforcement agency, couldn't have solved these crimes if they truly wanted to.
Wow. But I think that the most important moment of my life probably was, you know, the 8 years that I spent with Eric Wright.
The hunch regarding Suge Knight's potential involvement in Eazy-E's death is primarily rooted in the well-known animosity between Knight and Eazy-E, which originated from a bitter dispute over NWA member Dr. Dre. This feud, coupled with an unsettling comment made by Knight during an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel's Late Night Show in 2003, fuels their suspicions. Aaron expresses the need to speak with Suge Knight, who is currently serving a 28-year prison sentence after pleading no contest to voluntary manslaughter in a 2015 hit-and-run case. Despite NWA's meteoric ascent to stardom in the 80s and 90s, thanks to the platinum success of their studio albums Straight Outta Compton and NAZ for Life, the group's trajectory took an unexpected turn. The band's journey was marred by intense internal conflicts, resulting in diss tracks, threats, and shattered camaraderie. Just as Dr. Dre began the process of reconciliation, the tragic death of Eazy-E from AIDS in 1995 abruptly ended any chances of a full reunion.
And he got it, and so it might have slowed a few people down, I think. Hopefully it did.
Sure.
NWA kicked off its journey in 1987 under the leadership of Eazy-E, the mastermind behind Ruthless Records. The initial crew included West Coast artist Dr. Dre, followed by the additions of Ice Cube, Arabian Prince, and DJ Yella. We couldn't stop laughing as we watched folks on the benches freak out because the paintballs were red. Yeah, not long after that, we ended up on the freeway with guns to our heads dealing with some real AH cops, he continued. We took that crazy experience and hit the studio the same day to make that song. NWA's shift towards a more aggressive and violent style of music and lyrics was a departure for Dr. Eazy-E, reflected on this transition, noting, Dre came from the world-class Wreckin' Crew, an electro group, but I convinced him to dive into this other kind of music I wanted to do, the Gangsta S. The collaboration between Eazy-E and Dre marked a significant evolution in the sound and content of their music, contributing to the emergence of gangsta rap.
You know, dibbling and dabbling in movies by now, and, you know, all forms of entertainment, you know, because he was just such a visionary on what it should be.
Eazy-E emerged as the most identifiable face of NWA, largely owing to his distinctive appearance. Yella explained the choice, saying, "We liked Eazy because initially he had the money, but also because the sound of his voice sold. He sounded and looked like a little kid. That's why we pushed him out front. He was the image. When you thought of NWA, you thought of Eazy-E first. It was just a look." Their debut album, Straight Outta Compton, achieved platinum certification by selling 1 million copies within 2 years. Ironically, Dr. Dre, a central figure in the group, wasn't a fan of the album. "To this day, I can't stand that album," he admitted. "I threw that thing together in 6 weeks so we could have something to sell out of the trunk." Despite Dre's reservations, the album played a crucial role in establishing NWA as a force in the rap scene.
Straight outta Compton, crazy named Ice Cube.
One of the band's closest associates and collaborators was the DOC, who penned many of their lyrics. The DOC was Dr. Dre's housemate and close friend, and they both were signed with Ruthless. "I spent all day every day with Dre for those first 3 or 4 years. I was with this guy all day every day," the DOC would recall. "We slept in the same house, we ate at the same time, we drove to work together in the same beat-up little Toyota Corolla." The DOC was keen to start a new record label with Suge Knight, one of his other close personal friends. Knight at the time was running his own artist management company. "I was trying to find myself, and Suge and I felt like we needed Dre in order to make that S work," the DOC summarized. "We had already went through my little contract, Suge and I and other lawyers, and found out that I was not fairly being compensated by Ruthless. With that information, I went to Dre and I started having conversations with him about he and I doing our own thing. If Eazy's F me, then he's probably doing it to you too. He's F cube and da-da-da-da-da. I just got those kinds of dialogue started." The DOC's attempts to shake Dre's loyalty to Ruthless seemed to pay off. Soon enough, Dre started to question the fairness of his current contract. Eazy disagreed. "What that did was separate Eazy-E and Dre," the DOC explained. "Now that's really all that Suge and me needed to get Dre to come on in where we at, because Dre knew a lot of that creative S came out of me. He knew that he's not going to be able to sit in the studio with Eric and come up with this S. So he comes over here and we get the idea that we're going to start our own label. We're going to split the S 50-50. And Suge is going to help us administrate and do business." The breaking point for NWA came with a dispute over their manager, Jerry Heller, whom Dr. Dre and Suge Knight believed was unfairly claiming a significant portion of album profits. Dre confronted Eazy about this, stating, "I said, listen man, F all this going back and forth S. Either Jerry goes or I go." Dre later recounted, and he looked me in my face and said, "I can't get rid of Jerry. That was the end of me and Eazy-E's relationship," he explained. "The feeling I had at that moment was similar to losing a brother. It seriously broke my heart." Subsequently, Knight, the DOC, and Dr. Dre established Death Row Records, while Eazy chose to stick with Jerry Heller. Death Row went on to thrive, becoming one of the most successful black-owned record labels in history. The split marked a significant turning point in the landscape of West Coast hip-hop.
You know? I mean, we were very, very close. So I could never really dislike.
Following the fallout, the former friends engaged in a barrage of diss tracks and openly hostile interviews. Eazy-E summarized the situation at the time, stating, "Suge tried to destroy my record company with the help of others, including Dre. So right now we're getting everything back together, and we finna come out, you know, fully loaded." During this turbulent period, reports emerged that Suge Knight allegedly threatened Eazy-E at gunpoint. Demanding that he sign over the ruthless rights to Dr. Knight was also said to have threatened Eazy-E's family. While these details remain unconfirmed, Knight faced charges for allegedly pistol whipping 2 other men in his death row offices. Heller claimed that Eazy-E considered Knight an evil human being and expressed a desire to harm him. However, the wounds from the shattered friendship with Dre ran even deeper for Eazy-E. The once close collaborators were now entangled in a web of animosity and legal disputes. In his diss track, F-Wit Dre Day, Dre included the lyrics, "Rapper Luke Campbell must have thought I was sleazy, or thought I was a mark cause I used to hang with Eazy." Despite their rift, Eazy-E continued to reap financial benefits from Dre. "Basically, I had Dre signed as my exclusive producer and exclusive artist," he explained. "So when Dre tried to make his deal over at Interscope, I was included for the next 6 years. So you can say all you want to say. Basically, you can diss me all you want, but I'm gonna get paid. That's why I say, Dre Day is only Eazy's payday." The contractual ties ensured that Eazy-E would continue to receive compensation from Dre's future endeavors, turning the diss into a financial win for Eazy. When asked why the bandmates wouldn't just make up, he first joked, "Dre already made up, you ain't ever seen him with the lipstick?" He went on to say that, in light of the disses, "I don't think I want to make up." Nevertheless, Ice Cube started to reconcile with Eazy. As Cube later recalled, "We had talked about getting back together, and at the time, our feud had died down, and him and Dre was still at odds, so I was like, if you can get Dre to do it, I'm ready." Eazy then called Dre to discuss their disagreements. "We started talking about the mistakes we had made in the past, and potentially getting back together and making another record," Dre has stated. "It seemed as if a full NWA reunion was on the horizon."
It's been 30 years, exactly 30 years since we formed the group NWA. Back then, we weren't thinking about fame or fortune or anything like that.
But in 1994, their paths separated even further. Dr. Dre was sentenced to 6 months in a Pasadena jail, during which he began to rethink his life. In particular, he was haunted by the memory of his brother Tyree, who had recently been in a street fight. "I just said, let me do a whole 180 with my life," he has remembered. "I don't want to do any more negative hip-hop music. I can't be talking about bitches and hoes." Dre was in jail when he received the news that Eazy-E was dying of AIDS, confined to his hospital bed. Upon his release, Dre visited Eazy in the hospital, only to find his friend in a comatose state. As the godfather to one of Eazy's sons, he supported the children as they symbolically covered their father's casket with dirt. The loss of Eazy-E and the circumstances surrounding it remained a sensitive and unspoken topic among the former collaborators. The DOC explained his absence from Eazy-E's funeral by stating, "Eric and I weren't that close. I wasn't his friend like they were his friends." Regarding Dre's non-attendance, he remarked, "I think he was super hurt, but Dre never shared those things. When things happen to Dre, life gets really tough. He separates himself from everybody." In stark contrast, Suge Knight appeared nonchalant about Eazy's untimely death and even fueled a conspiracy theory during a Jimmy Kimmel interview. He casually mentioned, "If you shoot somebody, you go to jail forever. Key is, you don't want to go to jail forever, right? So they got this new thing out that people sell them all the time. They got this stuff they get the blood from somebody with AIDS, and then they shoot you with it. That's the slow death," concluding with a laugh. "The Eazy-E thing, you know what I mean?" Knight's comments added an unusual and controversial dimension to the aftermath of Eazy-E's passing. In response to Suge Knight's controversial AIDS comments, the DOC dismissed them as a sick A joke, suggesting that Knight found such content amusing. Dre, on the other hand, consistently regretted not reconciling with Eazy-E. However, he found a way to pay tribute to his late friend in the making of the 2015 biopic Straight Outta Compton. Dre expressed the desire for authenticity in the film, stating, "We wanted to be as authentic as possible." He commended actor Jason Mitchell, who portrayed Eazy-E in the movie, saying, "He did an incredible job. I mean, there's a couple of times where I got a little emotional on set. When he's in the hospital and he finds out he has the disease and what have you, his acting was that great. Goosebumps." However, still, Suge Knight is all here to blame Dr. Dre. But what's the deal with Chris Brown? Suge Knight blamed singer Chris Brown and a West Hollywood nightclub for a 2014 shooting which left him wounded. Knight filed suit in Los Angeles Superior Court against Brown, fellow singer Pia Mia Perez, and the owners of One Oak nightclub. He's alleging they failed to provide adequate security at a celebrity-filled party Brown co-hosted with Perez on the eve of the MTV Video Music Awards in August 2014.
the couple times that he had been shot.
Yeah.
And he kind of brought me through it and everything.
The other one on my arm, and when it went in and came out, you feel me? So I got one in my body right here.
The suit characterizes Chris Brown as a known gang associate with a history of violence and had a well-documented track record of hosting events and/or parties in which violence frequently erupted. It alleges that due to the defendant's negligence, one or more individuals with weapons, including firearms, were allowed access to the event. As a foreseeable consequence, gunshots were fired, resulting in Knight being shot and seriously injured. This legal action points to the defendant's alleged failure to provide adequate security, leading to the incident in question. Chris Brown has not been arrested for any alleged gang activity, but he did plead guilty to assaulting his then-girlfriend, singer Rihanna, in 2009. Since then, Brown has faced other legal troubles, including the revocation of his probation in 2014 after leaving court-ordered rehab. One fan wrote, "I knew it when people started talking about abuse in the past Dr. Dre name was gonna come up. Damn Dre, Diddy and Jay-Z, coincidentally they the three richest rappers." Another one added, "The origins of their beginnings is very shady on a whole different level. Imagine blowing up with no radio play, when the internet didn't exist, and outside of your state, program directors didn't know you existed." Moreover, in 2010, Suge Knight sued rapper Kanye West and the owners of the Shore Club in Miami for a 2005 shooting at an event where Knight was shot in the leg. The court ultimately ruled in West's favor in that case. Complications from the 2014 shooting have arisen in court during a separate hit-and-run murder case involving Knight. In January 2015, after an argument on the set of the biopic Straight Outta Compton, Knight was alleged to have hit two men with his car. Months later, he pleaded not guilty to one count of murder for the death of Terry Carter, one count of attempted murder in the case of CLE Bone Sloan, who was injured during the incident, and one count of hit and run. Suge Knight's not holding back, insinuating that if Chris Brown is throwing punches, he might just be knee-deep in a whole bunch of other questionable activities. It's like a tangled web of controversy surrounding these two. Yet Dr. Dre and Chris Brown are riding high on a continuous wave of award victories. The drama is real. Accusations are flying left and right, but somehow their trophy collection keeps growing, as if the chaos only adds fuel to their success. It's a wild ride of controversy and accolades for these two. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.